Welcome and good morning. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. This is going to be an exciting day. I have somebody that is not a politician, but is willing to throw their hat in the ring. I think somebody that's real and genuine. So I'm looking forward to an interesting conversation today. But first, as you know, my opportunities to get involved, I'm always encouraging people to get out there, to make a difference. Sitting on your butt, nothing happens. It is kind of a choice, but it's a choice to live with the status quo. And I think that our world is turned upside down. It's time to get involved. Freedom and responsibility go hand in hand. So first opportunity to go out and get involved, meet some, if you're watching my show, probably you're on the conservative end. If you're liberal, hey, welcome. Free speech happens here. The first opportunity is Saturday, April 2nd. It's a Let's Go Brandon Patriot rally at Clovis and Shaw from 1 to 3. That should be fun. I'm going to be out of town, darn it, but that should have been fun. The next one is a medical freedom rally. That is same location. So April 3rd from 3 to 5 p.m. at Clovis and Shaw. Third opportunity to get involved. There's a group that I truly believe in, Constitutionalist for California, lead the Clovis chapter. And the Kingsburg chapter is having its Tuesday meeting. So that's April 5th. It's 6:30 p.m. It's at 15,000 Rose Avenue. They're going to have a workshop on evaluating political candidates, because we have an awful lot of candidates that when they come and they speak before you, they say all the things you want to hear, but they're not real. It's like this is what they feel like they got to say just to get your vote. And I'm not a fan of that, but sometimes people can fool you. So you have to establish kind of a truth line. How do they react when they're telling the truth? How do they react when they're answering a question that stresses them out? When you know those things, you have a lot better idea of when they're real. So this will be a fun meeting. I've been to this guy. He teaches classes also at Reedley College. And I've been to this workshop before, and I think it's a very useful thing. Wednesday, Fresno Unified School District. So April 6th is having a board meeting at 5:15. That's at 2309 Tulare Street, so downtown Fresno. That is a tough situation. I really don't have much respect for the board members and the superintendent who gets paid over $300,000 a year. He won't even have a plan to try to take the school out of the bottom 5% of the nation. Yes, Bob Nelson, I'm calling you out. I don't object to you making real money. I object to you getting real money and providing no results. Things need to change. Thursday, the new meeting night for the Clovis chapter of Constitutionalists for California. We are now meeting at the American Legion Hall in Clovis at 6:30 p.m. at 508 4th Street. My final event, a chance to meet a governor candidate. We got a big decision coming, and I think Newsom needs to go. He's trying to set himself up so he can be president. We need to stop that in its tracks. So I like this guy. His name is Daniel Mercury. We were meeting at DeChico's Restaurant in Old Town Clovis. That is 408 4th Street at 6:30 p.m. April 11th. That's a Monday. Hope I see at least one of those events. Get involved, folks. Well, today my guest, Amanda Fleming, also CFC member, is joining me. Amanda, tell me about yourself.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me here today. Super excited. It's my first time being on air. I'm a mom of 3, and I work at Ag and Industrial Supply in Firebaugh, and which is, of course, in my district. And I'm very involved in, we're an ag supply store. So I get to see, farmers. I get to see the ag laborers. I get to interact. As a matter of fact, probably people get sick of me talking about politics, which is why I got involved.
Probably not the farmers as much.
Not the farmers as much. Yeah, no, not really, but it's amazing the disconnect between the workers and what's really going on. There's a big break in the language barrier and the information, and that's really why I chose to get involved. And I got to the point to where I couldn't sleep at night. So I started Fireball for America so that I could start to get the word out and reach out to people in my community to let them know, well, not how could they not know, right? We've been living in this tyrannical COVID time for 2 years. How could they not know what was going on?
Pretty simple. If all you do is watch the nightly news, or from what I understand, you watch Channel 21 or Univision, it's one narrative. They basically follow the CDC narrative.
Absolutely.
So you never heard alternative information.
Not in my area, unless it seems to me, unless you are unless you just speak English, that's the only way that you have the opportunity to get other information. And I just found it to be my calling, because I am a Spanish speaker, to reach out to this community and make sure that they know what's going on, and that there are options, and that there is opposition, and that there are doctors that are being silenced, that there are things that are going on that are not right, and the media is lying to us, and they need to know this. And the people that I've spoke to that understand that this is a problem, or that they have this feeling that something's going on, and I'll ask them, how come you're not wearing your mask? And they'll say, well, because I just know it's not right. And it's like, well, why? I don't really know. And I didn't vaccinate my family either. I'm not vaccinated. Well, why? I don't know. I feel it in my heart.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me that we all make decisions based on our gut feelings, but that's what they're going on. And I would just nurture with, they're telling me that they're afraid, that they know it's not proven, this kind of thing. And I'll just give them more information. Hey, well, this is what I heard. Have you ever followed Telegram? Have you ever, or I started, kind of throwing information. Well, give me your number and let me text you some information. And through then, is when, I've been able to see a little bit of a change. The customers that come into my store, when masks were mandated in my city, I would tell them, you come through our door, you're free in our establishment. Who am I to tell you what to do? I don't have the information. I'm not a doctor. And who's the police department to tell me that I got to tell you what to do? If I harass you, you're not going to come back into my business. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to do that. I'm in customer service. I'm here to serve my customers. If I tick them off, they're not going to come back. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to, step on my own toes there.
Clovis largely did the same thing. The city council said, go about your business. As long as something isn't egregious, we don't want to know about it. And how can we help you? I don't know what happened in Fireball. Were you an exception as a business that allowed for a little more freedom?
I would say the farming, the ag supply stores, because I think kind of how it fell is it's not that people don't believe, in the rhetoric that was going on, but when you are a farmer and you're out on your property all day long, who are you going to run into that you have to wear a mask? So I think they just kind of became accustomed to not masking. So when they would come into these certain places like Ag and Industrial or Tharps or John Deere or Caterpillar and Fireball, they don't wear masks because they're amongst the same type of people. But now when those people would go to a grocery store or the gas station, they would do it there. And it was my understanding the only people that got fines in Fireball were the gas stations. The grocery stores. But it was because the mixture of crowd, like I would say Democrats, Republicans, or the believers, non-believers, however you want to say it, they would call, the police station and they would complain that there was, people walking around unmasked. So those mandates were enforced there. And I was one of the people that would get kicked out or that would get yelled at or whatever. But, I understand the definition of a mandate. And I'm sorry, I'm just not going to allow people to step on my my freedom, my basic rights to breathe air. Excuse me, what the heck is going on that you're going to not allow somebody to breathe fresh oxygen?
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it's absolutely crazy. You know, California's not even out of its state of emergency. King Newsom has decided that he needed more time because there's more tyranny that he would like to impose upon us. Before we get to that, because there's a bunch of bills and a bunch of things going on right now, some of them have been paused. Can you define your district?
Sure. My district is as far as it's basically between the two freeways from I-5 to 99. As far as Kalinga, the outskirts of Lemoore, Kerman, Madera, parts of Madera, Fig Garden Loop, Weber, and Fresno. And then, Fireball, Dos Palace, Mendota, Las Banas, Merced. Merced and Las Banas are my most heavily populated areas.
So the Fig Garden Loop only gets you some.
Only a little bit.
That's surprising.
It's kind of weird the way it's cut. And I swear, going down Weber, it's like the center. It's like the center of the street. And that's it. It's kind of weird the way it's cut, but it is what it is.
Yeah, well, they played a lot of games, and they're doing everything they can to get a particular outcome because we've got one party rule.
Well, the great thing about my district is I feel that my family history is painted through my district. My mom went to high school in Tranquility. My family actually used to have a business when my grandfather was still alive. He used to have a business in Tranquility. We have a Fleming Street in Mendota because my grandfather used to be a part of the city council. I have family, lots of family in Kerman. The Melgozas in Kerman. I was born in Dos Palace. I think I was one of the last years that was actually where the hospital was actually birthing babies. I don't know anybody younger than me born in Dos Palace. We're from Firebaugh, swim team. I was on swim team. I was raised on swim team. So all of these little towns we frequented every single summer. And, so Atwater, Merced, Las Banas, I've Chowchilla, I've been all over my area. So I feel pretty confident because I feel like all of this area is my home, all of it. So for me, I almost feel like it was cut for me, honestly.
Well, I'm sure they didn't plan that.
No, I don't think so.
They just didn't know you were on the horizon.
Right, but I do. And my lawyer's in Merced. So yeah, I do. I feel like it is cut for me. I feel like it's my home, all of it. Very much so.
Then I think you need to claim that home.
I am. I definitely am, and I want everybody to know that I'm extremely passionate about what's going on. I'm extremely passionate about what's going on with our children and everything, but I think we're going to get to that.
You're going to have a campaign launch coming up. Can you give the details?
Yeah, I'm going to have a campaign launch April 8th at the VFW in Firebaugh. The schmoozing starts at 5. Dinner will be at 6:30, and you can reach me to get tickets at Amanda for State Assembly at protonmail.com. Yeah.
Do you have a website?
I do. It's Amanda Fleming for, you know what? Let me double check on that before I give that. Because it's brand new. All of my stuff is brand new. So I'm still.
First time candidate.
Yeah, you'll have to excuse me.
Mama Bear Warrior.
Absolutely. I'll do anything for my children. Anything. Absolutely anything. So
well, the future that I see the one party, and I'm just going to call it the one party because I don't know that it would be even fair to call them Democrats anymore. So many of them, and their leadership seems to be something that is much closer to a communist or a socialist than it is a Democrat.
Absolutely.
Because Democrats used to believe in individual freedom. And what I see out of Sacramento is groupthink, control, and they don't care about the individual. They define people first by their race. That's destructive, as opposed to they're Americans first and individuals first. So all those really worry me. Getting to some of those bills. They have a bill that obviously wants to mandate this shot, and I'm going to call it a shot, that has effects much like a flu shot. And that's not why I'm not referring to it as a vax. I'm referring to it as a shot. Because you can still get it, you can still spread it, you can still die of it. It only lasts for a matter of months before you have to get another one. And we know no long-term effects, or we're beginning to, because of the lawsuit that happened against Pfizer, and the judge forced some of that open, but it's 10,000 pages per month or something like that are being exposed as to the initial study. By the way, if you're in round 1 of the shots, you're in round 1 of the clinical study.
Scary.
Yeah.
It is absolutely scary. And I don't even get the flu shot. So you kind of know where I stand on the rest of it.
Yes, but the flu shot is made in a traditional way, and
Absolutely.
they have a better idea of what the side effects are.
But even then, like I say, the times that I've gotten it, I've gotten so sick, and I know my mom is one of them. But then on the other hand, my mother swears that since my dad has taken the flu shot, that he's done a little bit better. So I know that there's different strokes for different folks. But again, anything medically that we're doing, we should be making these decisions with 100% full disclosure.
Absolutely.
And
informed consent is another way to say that.
Yes. And I mean, it's very clear that even our doctors, they don't even know what's in these inoculations, shots, whatever you want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
And how do they expect to force our children to be doing this? And with good conscious parents taking our children in to get these shots. It's absolutely, it's un-American. It really is. And I don't understand how a lot of our nation, especially in California, I don't understand how we are not waking up. I know that there's a big wave of people that are, but honestly speaking, where I'm from, that has pushed me to the position that I'm in. I love my town, but I'm the only one at the school board meetings when I go, because I'm so busy now. I'm one of the very few that are at the city council meetings, and I feel that standing up for our city, for my town, for my business, for my children, I've been able to kind of hold all this off for everyone else. And I'll tell people, if you're afraid to speak, I have mouth enough for all of us. Just get behind me and stand there, and tell me what you want me to say. I will speak it for all of us. I think through that, I've been pushed into this position, because it's like, okay, well, where is everybody? Well, okay, then fine. I'm going to go the next step, and I'm going to make a difference for my territory, because I just can't stand not being able. Well, it's like you were saying in Clovis, how Clovis was open, and
we were closed for a little over a month.
See, from Firebaugh, I would drive all the way to Clovis to shop, because I knew that I wasn't going to get harassed. And it was worth the gas money to me. It was worth the extra, 30 minutes of the drive, because I didn't have people infringing on my rights. And I don't know why more people aren't on this boat. We are completely being conditioned. Mm-hmm. I've heard you speak, about Tom McDonald. I was just listening to one of his songs the other day, and
I'm definitely a fan.
No, I love him. I totally love him. And my son, he's getting at that age to where he wants to listen to rap, and so I'm kind of like, even though it's not, he's a little bit young for it, but still, there's some songs that he needs to be open to what's going on. And instead of listening to some garbage, it's good to listen to somebody that's actually standing up and speaking about American rights and what's wrong in this world. And I just hope his message spreads like wildfire. I do.
Yeah.
But
one of the other things is, there's a bill that is taking away parental control on choice. Whether your kids get vaccinated, one of the things that's very clear is kids, unless they have an underlying condition, are not vulnerable to this. Fresno County has 2 deaths that they died with COVID, not of, with. Period.
99.997, right?
For a healthy individual, it's much lower than that. For a kid, they have more risk being driven to school and dying in a car
Absolutely.
accident than they do of dying of COVID. They have more risk of the normal flu. And if we're going to have these unreasonable measures and testing and all this, how come we don't have it for the flu? We're going to go nuts. Shouldn't we be consistent?
And then, not to mention, a lot of people aren't taking into account the sterilizing agents that they're using on these swabs that you're consistently sticking up your nose. And I mean, we all know that tissue is going straight into the bloodstream.
Mm-hmm.
So, how long is it going to be before we see the effects of that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we're talking about material that is carcinogenic. So, it really scares me the direction that California is moving in. And, you know, I make a point and I tell people, the people that are not engaged, because there's a lot of people in my area that they just don't go anywhere. They're overly involved in baseball and what's going on with the schools and this and that. You know, they're, dragging their kids around, the sports. Thank God that we have them again, right? But they're not going to San Francisco and seeing how tyrannical things are there. They're not going to, LA and seeing what things are like there. And if you don't get out of your bubble and you don't kind of get a bird's eye view of what the direction that California is going in, they're going to get, it's going to be like a bomb going off in their home and they're going to be like, what happened? It's just they're not paying attention to their surroundings and how horrible things can get if we don't do something now.
Right. I think that represents rural California in general, that most places were much more reasonable about all of these COVID mandates, that freedom tended to rule the day, not entirely, but tended to rule the day, as opposed to the big cities, and it was about being compliant.
Absolutely.
Groupthink, let's be a sheep.
I cannot imagine. And I had friends that, one person in particular, he's a vendor. They come out and service our area, but his wife had a business in town and it was a franchise, and it cost them something like $14,000 to close the business, to take things down between permits and everything. And so not only did they, have to close their business because of the effects of COVID, because they were considered non-essential, they also were taken under by the costs of tearing down the business. Mm. And I just, it hurt my heart so much to see what they had to go through. And the state telling anybody that their business or that their work is not essential, that's like saying that your family's survival is not essential.
Mm-hmm. The government got to pick and choose, like the king used to decide who had their favor, and that's exactly what happened.
And that was one of the reasons why I started Fireball for America. I could not get over how, in a small community, we're all friends, we all know each other. How am I going to go to work every day and be open, and there only be 5 businesses out of every business in town? And I'm sure a lot of these small towns were like this, because if you were agricultural based, you were considered essential. But if you're a hair salon in this agricultural community, you're no longer essential. So now we're talking about, we only closed 5 businesses. If you're talking about slowing transmission, that is absolutely asinine. And that was the thing that excuse me, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. That was the thing that ticked me off the most. Is, okay, no problem. To begin with COVID, you had to come through a cloud of Lysol spray before you reached me. And I had friends that I was just like, what are you doing in the business? Get out. Didn't you see the red tape, outside? Because I was fearful. My dad is very ill, and I was fearful for his life. I made my mom stay home for 2 weeks, and then I found out that they were sneaking out to Walmart, and so I'm like, okay, Mom, if you guys are going to go and here I am disinfecting your bags and going cuckoo over this stuff. If your freedom is that important to you, that you're going to sacrifice your health to go to Walmart, then I wash my hands of this. I'm going to go ahead and do me. I'm not going to feel bad about having my friends over or whatever, because that's what it ended up happening. We live in the country. And when Halloween was canceled, I said, no problem. Halloween party at my house. This is canceled. No problem. Birthday at my place. I created my own freedom. And anyway.
We're going to go ahead and take a break. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. When we come back, I'm going to shift gears. If you want to finish that point, that's fine, but we're going to shift gears towards some more issues. Obviously, COVID is huge, but we spend an awful lot of our time on it, and I want to kind of briefly get through them. So we're going to go ahead and come back. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Today, I am joined by Assembly candidate Amanda Fleming. What is the district?
District 27.
District 27, and define the district just a little bit so people know, just in case they're just tuning in on the radio portion.
Sure, no problem. We're from Kalinga, between the two freeways, from I-5 to 99, and everything in between there as far as Los Banos, Merced, Atwater, Fireball, Mendota, Dos Palace, Kerman, Chowchilla.
Okay.
And I don't know. I'm sure there's more in there that I left out, but
that's all right. It's a complicated thing because so much of your district is rural, because so much of it is farming, because rural means farming in Central California. Those two things are integral. You've got two populations, and I kind of couch it this way, but they have to work together. One is the farm workers and one is the farmers. And they're very different. They're very different in their political views. But I think that it would be a useful thing if they realized, no, wait a minute, they have a lot of things in common. And if they want to save the state, they have to work together. What do you do with that whole Hispanic outreach issue?
Well, that was one of the reasons why I started Fireball for America. Working at Ag and Industrial Supply, I have gotten to be friends with both. But mainly the farm laborers, they're the ones that I speak to on a daily basis. So, si hablo español muy bien. Sometimes my Spanish isn't that great, but I get my point across. And, really, our farm laborers are more conservative than what you think. They realize that they need water. They realize, to have a job. They realize that, they're hard workers. They're hard workers. They don't really want a handout. They want to be able to go to work every day. They want to be able to pay for their families, parties. Oh my gosh, as Mexicanos, we are party people. We love to just celebrate and enjoy. And I mean, what a beautiful culture we have. And, so opening up that conversation with them and speaking with them,
where do you start? You have to find common ground, so you got to start somewhere.
Okay, perfect example. Somebody walks into the store. When things were really locked down, I would ask, either why or why aren't you wearing a mask? And that would always start the conversation. Or just, what do you think about this or that that's going on? And I want to know what they think. And anyway, but most of the time it's, oh, aren't you supposed to? Isn't this what I'm supposed to do? And it wasn't really because they necessarily believed. But then, of course, we do always have the people that had, family members that were labeled, COVID deaths or this kind of thing. So that part makes it really hard. But we as a society, we really want to support California, and we really want it to be a good place, and we really don't want the crime on the streets, and we really don't want homelessness everywhere, and they're really looking for programs to put they want their kids to succeed.
Well, they're ambitious and hardworking. That
absolutely there's nobody that's going to do the work that they do.
I would say that for somebody like me, where I would have to start the conversation is you start talking to them about their family.
Yeah,
and then you work in politics, but you have to develop a relationship. Because I speak very limited Spanish, I have to work harder.
Right, absolutely.
You already have a door or a bridge created because you can speak fairly fluent Spanish. I don't. I have to talk to them about family, have a little bit of a relationship before I can have a conversation about politics. What do they think about water? Or
Well,
what do you think about water? What can we do?
yeah. I just went to a water meeting. Honestly, my history with water, I'm 39 years old. My history with water goes back to the time that I was probably about 7 or 8 years old. And I remember getting on a St. Joseph school bus and going up to Sacramento with my dad. And I remember protesting there. And I know that water storage is the biggest issue. Is just, I was with Steve Malanka the other day, and I told him, I said, Steve, I need to better understand. I need to know what's going on here. So help me out. And of course, this FID meeting was wonderful. But he said, "Hun," he goes, "in a nutshell, he goes, we need to store the water. Period."
Okay, but we don't necessarily. We could take care of most of the problem if we actually stored it and just didn't flush it. We long-term need more storage. Short-term, it's such a disaster that what we need to do is not flush the water and allow, because 70% of the water goes out to the ocean. Part of the reason why is because in the Delta, there are several cities surrounding the Delta that are flushing their sewage. And when they flush their sewage, then they need a certain amount of fresh water in it so that the water quality stays about the same.
I'm actually, I've known that for a while. I don't know, my mom always says, she says, we should never allow bad behavior, and it's up to each individual person to hold people accountable to their bad behavior. Because if we allow people to do, to get away with things, they're going to continue to get away with whatever they want. And that can go in all levels of your life. It doesn't matter, from as simple as, what your child's doing at home to what the government's getting away with. And to me, that's what that is. That's bad behavior. It's they're not being accountable for their own, sewage. And we as a state have to pay for that. I'm sorry.
No, just the places that need water that don't have enough population that they can have any power. Well, we're underrepresented.
Oh, absolutely.
We represent Central Valley represents, or agriculture represents, roughly 10% of the GDP of California. But its representation up at Sacramento is much lower than that.
Well, and that to me just doesn't make any sense. And that's something that has to be changed, because when the Central Valley is feeding a population, just a enormous population.
Well,
right?
We're the fruits and vegetables for the world.
Absolutely. How can we not have a vote? To me, the revenue, what the produce, what comes out of our area, that should earn us more votes, because we are so valuable. We are a necessity. We are a staple. We have to be supported. And the idea that fruits and vegetables just come from the store and that it doesn't come from the ground, but then again, that goes back to our education system. That goes back to, kids go get out of high school and they can't balance a checkbook. They have zero clue as to how the world actually operates. And that's such a that's a sign that our school system is a complete failure.
Yeah, well,
how do these kids don't even know how to operate in the world once they get out? And where's the common sense? Where's the just the everyday lessons that we need to be a good citizen?
Well, we can no longer rely on schools doing that because they socially promote. Woke agendas are coming.
I was just listening to what was going on with Disney on the way over, and I hope and that everybody takes a picture at Disney, right? In front of the sign or whatever, and my kids have never been to Disney, and I think it's getting to the point to where I'm gonna start saying boycott Disney, because what the heck is going on when we can't trust our Disney characters to send our children good messages? When Big Bird is promoting the vaccine, it's like, what the heck is going on here? And why are these parents, they're not realizing that it's a conditioning. It's such a severe conditioning. But if we don't get our word out, we're just, you know what? No, we will get our word out. That's why we're here, right, Eric?
Absolutely.
That's why we're here. That's why Fireball for America started. And that's why I'm running, because we're going to change this.
Well, we have to.
Absolutely.
Because the future is at stake.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm wearing a shirt on purpose. It's a list of all the countries in the world that succeeded with socialism, true socialism. Because, you know, they're going to throw out, well, what about Norway? What about Sweden? Guess what? You can still own a private business in those countries. You're taxed highly, and they have kind of a welfare state, but you can still own your own business. I'm talking about true socialism. Venezuela was the richest country in South America, period. And now people are eating rats.
Yeah. No, and now look at
because
it.
because they're literally starving. They're doing what they have to do to survive, or they're escaping over the border. You know, it's a country where it seems to be when true socialism actually happens, it never really becomes socialism. It's somehow this nice idea that they talk about with all these rainbow farts and you know, unicorns. What instead happens is there's a dictatorship.
Absolutely.
Cuba, dictatorship. Venezuela, dictatorship. China, dictatorship. Russia, dictatorship. No freedom.
And isn't it funny that anybody that comes that has immigrated from a communistic or a dictator type country, that they are so eager to be a part of the American dream, and there's no more true patriot because they are so appreciative of what they have in the United States. And it's all of these, oh gosh, these kids, or not even kids, they're even my age now. You know, I'm 39. You know, there's so many people that they're so privileged.
They're entitled.
Thank you. It's
they're
really
like spoiled
disgusting.
brats.
That's right.
They think that freedom is owed to them, a good living is owed to them, rather than realizing that it's hard work and discipline that gets you there.
Right. And that's why my kid, he has a shoe shining business. And my daughter cleans houses, or my family's houses.
Cool.
But just to make a little bit of money, I want them to know what it's like to work on their own. And I do keep my kids abreast with my finances. Maybe some people don't like that, but I want them to know that mommy's not pulling dollar bills off of trees, you know, and they need to know how to kind of hustle to do what they got to do too, because that's the world that we live in. We have to be able to survive and figure things out. And I want to raise entrepreneurs. I want my kids to know that that they can make their way on their own.
Who would be your allies in the assembly? Have you met many of the members? Because I'd like to believe that some of at least the rural ones, are people that you could be allies with.
You know, I've been thinking a lot about that. As a matter of fact, I got an email from a candidate that is running, and I was at the MCRA dinner last night. I have to say it slow because all of these abbreviations. But anyway, the email that I got, it was about a plan for California, and he wants, this particular candidate wants input, wants us, to take apart things and add to and whatever. And he has a great basic plan for California. Grar, I think is his name, Grar. I'll have to.
Okay. Yeah. He's in my phone, but I've never gotten around to calling him.
So, and I was looking at that. He's probably going to love that I said this on air. But I've been looking at that, and I've been thinking, just how we're going to do this how am I going to gain strength? How am I going to gain momentum? How are these other assemblymen, these other, state candidates? How are we going to work together, because we're the underdogs? Every single one of us are an underdog, even if we're elected.
You go with your plan, but I actually have a little bit of insight on this.
Okay. I was thinking, I have been thinking, and I know that that's this guy's thoughts, the flying V, right? Let's take it back to Mighty Ducks. The flying V, if all of us can get on a universal agreement, a universal plan, a plan to take back California, a plan to fight back, and we can all hold hands. And then some of these blue dog Democrats that are here, they're not so far from us. The ones that are true, the old Democrats, let's say, right? Maybe we can grab onto some of them, and the ones that have the intentions on saving California, that actually have a love for their state. Maybe we can all go together, and we can all work together for a greater good.
Well, essentially that happened when Youngkin and two other candidates got elected because they ran together. Last week, I interviewed Jenny Ray LaRue. She's running for California governor, and I can't remember, was it an on-air or off-air conversation? But, she's planning on uniting with other candidates, not running on her own, but running as a group. So same idea. So
I think it needs to happen, because advertise for one, advertise for all. Everybody realizes there's a plan, there's a direction that we're moving in, and we need that steel ball to roll. Absolutely. And the momentum has to happen, and we need to get our constituents behind us, and every dollar counts. I never really contributed to political parties, but I'll tell you what, I do now.
Same.
I do.
Well,
now.
not parties. I contribute to candidates.
Me too. No, me too. I just, it is extremely, extremely important to be a part of the change.
We're going to go ahead and take a break. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXCX, the best talk in town. When we come back, I want to deal a little bit with inflation and then hope, because it's not enough to leave people in a place where they're like, oh my God, you just complained about all these horrible things. What do we do? And then they're left going, I don't know what to do. Instead, I want to give them a direction. Let's go ahead and come back. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXCX, the best talk in town. Today, I am joined by Assembly candidate Amanda Fleming. Mama Bear, she jumped into this because she cares about her kids' future.
Absolutely. There's nothing I wouldn't do for my children. So in turn, there's nothing I wouldn't do for my territory.
So what do we do about inflation? Can you do much? You would be one out of how many at the Assembly? All you can do is try to slow them down, right? Unless we do what we talked about. Elect a bunch of people. Have it be a tidal wave rather than a trickle here or there.
And right now there's so many seats that are up for grabs. So we can, it's a possibility, but we just we have got to spread the word. We have got to get these grassroots groups together. We have got to, all the rallies that have been going on, everything, all the protests, all those people. Actually, I've already started doing that through Instagram and reaching out. And of course they're asking me. I had one lady tell me, and they seem like a very organized group. And she says, we stopped rallying because we didn't feel like we were moving the needle enough. And I told her, I said, well, you're probably right. I said, because jumping up and down, it makes you feel good that you're out there and that you are, in a sense, you are promoting, your message with your signs and the people that go by. But now you're right. What else are we going to do about this? And that's why we do have to have these little meetings, these groups, talk about the issues like the Constitutionalists do, Fireball for America, go to your city council meetings, go to your school board meetings. But even then, okay, so now you jumped up and down there. Okay, now you moved from a street corner to in a building. Okay, so now what are you going to do? You know what?
Now you got to either run or support a candidate or do something like I'm doing. One of those.
That's right. Getting information out, but even beyond that, let's talk to these people and now register them to vote. We've got to get all of the people that have not been engaged for how long. And I know so many citizens that, oh, nah, I don't vote. Oh, nah, they're just not interested because they feel like their vote doesn't count. Mm-hmm. But now, more than ever, all of those people, we have got to grab them. We've got to grab them, we have got to register them, and we have got to move forward with the next step. And, as far as me promoting myself, The biggest thing that I want to do is I want to go to the gas stations. I want to sit in front of the grocery stores. You need to meet the regular people. I mean, it's great to have endorsements, and thank you to everybody that has endorsed me, but I need to reach these people, and I need to change their minds on what's going on. They need to know what the R's are doing and what the D's are doing, and who's voting which way, and who you're voting for is affecting your life. And if you keep voting D's, even though there are some good people out there,
they're not the ones that are the leaders, though.
No, as a whole, we're going down the tubes, and quickly. I mean, these bills that we haven't really got into all of them, but it's like an alien made them. I mean, do these people not have mothers and kids and grandmas? I mean, it's like, do they not bleed? I can't understand. I really can't understand the types of people that are, Senator Pan.
Well, yeah.
I want to actually meet him and look at him in the eyes.
I'm a little afraid to meet him because I think I might be in trouble for beating his ass.
Yeah, I want to meet these people, and I want to go to coffee with them. I want to talk to them.
You're nicer than I am.
No, I want to, because I really feel that people at their core, I don't know anybody that doesn't love their mom. I don't know anybody that doesn't love their dog. I really feel that people at the core, they're good people. I do feel that the sinister of the evil, that money, I think it's all about money. I think people are being bought out. I think they're being pushed. And we've got to band together, like you say. We've got to start this wave of Americans that are being engaged and moving in a positive direction. We do have to go to our churches. We do have to talk to, I mean, if we're pushing a Christian message forward, I mean, what is more Christian than standing up for our basic rights, our life. God gave us life. We need to stand up for that.
I agree with that, but what I want to point out is that I think a lot of people like Pan, their God is government. In other words, they don't have faith, and they believe that the solution, because I don't think he's necessarily a bad person, but I think his solutions are so profoundly turned upside down. He might be bought off too, I don't know. But some of them, it's just that they have faith in government, and they think that, boy, if I just do these extra things, I can take care of people, because they don't believe in individual freedom.
But the people that are pushing, like these, I mean, do you even call, what is the term that they're using for, it's not late term abortion, it's when the baby's actually born that they're wanting to.
Yes.
What is the terminology?
I cannot remember the term of that, but that is about as sick as it gets.
Let's propose that their grandchild at, 20 days or whatever it is, doesn't make the cut. Why don't we, and I think that's the part that it really does piss me off. How is it that they can do these types of things and think it's okay for society as a whole, but not for their family? I mean, I really think that we just got to wake up these people. I mean, I think it really boils down to waking up these people, because if everybody knows that this is what's going on and this is what they're voting on, and I think there's a crazy disconnect.
Look up your website. So while she's looking up the website, yes, it is a crazy disconnect, but I want to point out that there are points of light. I see those as all of these grassroots groups, and we are starting to become united. A few months ago, I drove to Stockton along with several other members of my group to unite with people from Stockton. Recently, we have combined with people from Tulare. All over the state, there are people that in their gut, even if they can't articulate all of why, they know that our basic American freedoms are being challenged, that they don't care about our freedoms. So, did you find your website?
I'm looking. I believe it's Amanda Fleming for Assembly.com.
Okay.
I'm going to double check that, but I believe it's Amanda Fleming for assembly.com.
And April 8th, that's a Friday in Fireball at the
VFW
Hall. What time?
But the schmoozing starts at 5. Dinner starts at 6:30.
Okay. Well, we're just about out of time. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Any final thoughts?
Just go out there, spread the word, talk to a neighbor, and let them know that there's people out there working really hard, and we need you to join our team so that we can continue to flip California and make it a beautiful place to live again. Safe place for our friends, our family, but most importantly, a future for our children.
Well, I thank you for your time today.
Thank you. It was great being here.
And you survived your first radio interview.
Woohoo!